just want to really start by giving a big thank you to our friends at Sweetwater who sponsored Mindful May today. We are just so appreciative of what Sweetwater does for music professionals today and throughout the course of the year to really focus on and prioritize mental health. I also want to give a big thank you to Brian and the incredible team here at the Grammy Museum. Brian, thank you. We cannot think of a more beautiful, more tranquil, wonderful place to spend an afternoon. And I especially want to thank the incredible MusiCares team who helped to put on this event today. You'll see several of them in t-shirts around the room here. So please do stop us, talk a little bit more about how MusiCares provides support, and we'd love to answer any questions that we can for you. So with that, I'm so delighted to introduce my colleague, Marche Iverson, who's our Managing Director for Mental Health and Addiction Recovery here at MusiCares. Great, Marche.
Hello, everyone. And I'm super excited to announce and introduce this panel conversation between Dr. Sari and Ulu. It's on Unveiling Mental Wellness, a dialogue on understanding what it truly means to be mentally healthy in the music industry. So before I dive into this conversation, I want to introduce the panelists. So to our right, we have Dr. Sari. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 25 years of experience. He's provided services in a combination of settings, from nonprofit and community-based organizations to private practices, serving as a therapist, clinical director, supervisor, and group facilitator. Dr. Sari has been featured, I'm with that. And Dr. Sari has been featured on TV shows, and the most recent one was The Therapist. It was on Viceland Network, where he provided actual therapy sessions with a host of celebrity musicians, including Waka Flocka, O.T. Genesis, and Katy Perry. His first book, The Pocket Guru, was awarded the Walden Award for the Best Mind and Body Healing in 2020. So everyone welcome Dr. Sari. And to my left, we have, of Dr. Sari, we have Ulu. He is also, Olu. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Olu. Yeah, I know. We have Olu, also known as Johnny Venus. He is a 3-time Grammy-nominated Platinum Certified hip-hop artist and 1/3 of the award-winning hip-hop duo Earth Gang. Since signing with J. Cole's Dreamville Records in 2017, Earth Gang has collaborated with legendary artists such as J. Cole, Mac Miller, T-Pain, Snoop Dogg, Young Thug, Future, Wiz Khalifa, and CeeLo Green, just to name a few. Earth Gang is recognized for their ability to approach societal conversations through thought-provoking, introspective lyrics covering topics ranging from social justice, artificial intelligence, to mental health and spirituality. They've also been praised for their commitment to community activism. With the city of Atlanta honoring Earth Gang with their own day, April 27th, for their consistent efforts for uplifting and giving back to the community, the local community. When we envisioned having this conversation, we aimed to shed light on the importance of mental wellness in the music industry, to provide insight into the challenges and strategies for maintaining mental health in this unique environment. I'm very excited to listen to this conversation, and I just want to pass this torch over to Dr. Sari to kick off this conversation.
Thank you very much. It's honorable to be here today, to be asked to be on this panel. And in doing my studies of all my graduate work, postgraduate, I realized I have never had one class on what it means to be mentally healthy. Not one. So in our culture, in our society, we know what it is to be mentally imbalanced, but what is it to be mentally healthy? We have our DSM-5, which tells us about personality disorders and what it is to be mentally imbalanced. But we have not one class on what it is to be mentally healthy. I never forget, the first client I had a while back, and I realized, you don't have any problems. I felt like something was wrong with me. Because in our field, we pathologize. So today, perhaps, we will get some inklings, some concepts, some titillate you a little bit about what it means to be mentally healthy. Number one, I want to say when the mind is in harmony with the spirit, then we are in alignment with protection. So all of you are here today. Just think what we've seen on the news where some people have gone to music concerts to have fun and lost their lives. So they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so I want to inspire you to follow your intuition. It's never wrong. And if I could have spoken to some of those people, I bet you they had an inkling, oh, I shouldn't go today. Oh, yes. So that's one aspect of being mentally healthy. So mental health and the program for today, we're going to have a conversation about 30 minutes with Olu, and then we're going to open it back up to the audience for you to ask questions. So just think, mental health is really big these days. And that which is responsible for all of your failures, your troubles, your successes is your mind. It's something so dangerous that you can create horrific moments in time and space. It's something that is so beneficial that when you come into alignment with it on a positive level, you can create what we call miracles. It's something that if it merges with the ego, you're going to live a life of limitation and you won't grow. You won't reach your potential. If it sinks into the subconscious aspect of your being, your psyche is polluted with fears, doubts, and insecurities. It's like putting sewage in water. So I meditate, and I think Olu does too. That cleanses the subconscious mind. And this is one way to become a goal to help us achieve that mental health. So anything that's that powerful, I think we want to control it and not let it control us. Am I making any sense here? All right. So Olu, I want to turn to you, and I know you're on the path of, that's very big for you, mental health, and I want to ask you, what inspired you to get on this path of working on yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
I believe chaos, error, losing your way. That if that's inspiration. But I think a lot of us reach that point in our journey in life where we kind of hit a brick wall, or we're like, this is kind of not working for me. Something is out of order. Something is out of balance. And you have to find that way to recalibrate your system. And you said, mental health for you is when your mind is aligned with your spirit. And I also like to add body to that, mind, body, and spirit. And as a child, I was taught these things. But, when you venture out into the world and you leave your communities and you begin to interact with different modalities, different societal expectations and things, you kind of forget your upbringing. But you're always reminded by the fruit of your actions and how things are working, of like where you're from and what works for you. And if you don't have those teachings as a child, you can learn those along the way. So for me, it was kind of a return to what I had been taught, but also me opening myself to be taught more, to learn more. And that's inspiration.
So what's your means of working on yourself? What do you do?
Well, for me, I like to keep things kind of straightforward and simple. So the first thing for me is meditation. And that's simply just self-awareness, awareness of yourself, awareness of your thoughts, awareness of your habits, your emotions. And for meditation, for me, it's not to accomplish anything. It's to just observe. Sometimes it's observing things that you forget about. You sit down and quiet and things pop into your head. It's like, oh, I have to do that today. I can do that today. Observation of your emotions and how you approach the day, how you woke up today. So first thing is meditation. The second thing is breath work. And, it can be something as extensive as pranayamas, kapalabhati, samarviti, or ujjayi breath. These are things that I've learned in my yoga class. Or it can be something as simple as just counting down from 10. When you're getting into you realize you're getting into an argument, your blood pressure is rising, or you say, let's take a break right now because this conversation is going nowhere. We're talking in circles. Let me go relax and just kind of, calm my breath, calm myself, calm my body. The third thing is mindfulness, which can be seen as kind of journaling, um, having conversations with other people who are willing to listen and may give you feedback, but being aware primarily of your thoughts, how you speak to yourself, how you speak about the challenges that you're facing, how you speak about your environment, your surroundings, just because you said the mind is something that you want to control. So mindfulness is being aware of just literally how you talk to yourself. And then from there, you're aware of how you talk to your surroundings, how you talk to your friends and family. After mindfulness is the body. Working out, asana, yoga practice. For some, it may be as simple as just taking a walk after a nice dinner. Some of us are in sports, basketball, tennis, soccer, things like that. But things that get you outside of your head and into your it's a very natural way of moving when we work out, when we play, when we have fun. We're not thinking, we're just being. You're involving your breath, you're involving your cognitive abilities with your reflexes. All of these things is kind of like a natural flow, so you're not too blocked by, oh, I should be doing it this way, or I should be doing things that way. And then lastly for me is the company you keep, your community. People who you can rely on, when things have hit the fan, and people who can rely on you, vice versa. I think when you align all of those things, then you're living a healthy life, and awareness, coming back to awareness, is being aware of yourself to where you're not constantly looking for validation outside of yourself. But I think all of those, I think it was like 5 things I mentioned, but when you align those, then you're living, I think for me personally, is something that I can always adjust like a abacus, to get the sum.
I have a question for you. It's like, say for instance, we do practices and, you go to a therapist and whatever it is you do. How do you know it's working, when the work is working? What changes have you seen without, whatever you feel safe to share?
That's a great question. How do I know it's working?
Uh-huh.
I have my inner peace has skyrocketed.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't feel like I am constantly bombarded by my bad decisions or someone else's bad decisions on me. Right. Therapy works for me. How I know therapy works for me is because I'm able to cognitively look at the transition between my emotions and my decisions. So a lot of times we move out of unawareness, reactively, and then 3 days later you're like, why did I do that? Why did I act that way? Or how did that happen? But it's because you just jumped right from emotion to action. Mm-hmm. And for me, therapy has always been a place where I can sit down and kind of like sift through my actions and then what feelings brought these things up. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I think for me that's it. And then I can look at my relationship with others. Mm-hmm. And I think when I'm in a great space, my relationship with others are also healthy as well. Mm-hmm. So
I have one concept of being mentally healthy is, you said it, we can have peace, prosperity, and even posterity. We're in the Aquarian age, and in the Piscean age, which ended in 2000, poverty was sort of highlighted as being something we can be okay with and still be spiritually elevated. We're in the Aquarian age. No one is worshiping poverty anymore. So, talk about money.
it's funny that you say that. I love it. I love that. I'm gonna say, well,
I mean, we
no.
got to make it. We got to spend it.
Uh-huh,
A lot of us spend more than we make.
So
We got to invest it.
yes, all of these
And
things,
save
right?
it.
So for
talk
me,
about money.
I grew up in a very, very religious household. My parents worked full time for the church. My mother had a degree. She had 2 degrees, bachelor's and a master's, and bachelor's in writing and a master's in African American education from Emory University. And my father, he was a mechanic. He went to the Army and he became a pastor. But they both still decided to work full time for the church until I was about 12. So we lived very modestly, and it was kind of drilled into me that piety and not having excess or were intertwined, right? But for me, what I have been working on with my therapist, what I've been working on with just even how I view myself, I've realized that my income is directly reflected upon my level of peace.
All right.
So thank you. There are people out here who can make a lot of money and be in turmoil,
True.
but it will show. At the end of the day, it will show. It will show through your relationships. It will show through your actions. It will show through how you're able to sustain this amount of money. But me personally, if I am not at peace, then I am not making money. And then it just kind of snowballs, right? So for me, I had to immediately just jump straight to let me focus on my inner peace, right?
Yes.
And then on the second thing is we are spiritual beings in a material world, so it would be a disservice for us to not recognize both parts of us, the material and the spiritual.
Okay.
And for me, it's always been kind of a thing, right? Of, if you're holy, then you give the shirt off your back to somebody who needs it, which is true, but that doesn't mean that you don't have extra shirts at the crib. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes,
it's fine.
yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
As long as you keep
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
higher being you acknowledge as the creator first.
Yes.
And as long as you don't fall into greed and still practice non-attachment, it's okay to fully experience the material aspect of this world because we are here.
Yes,
as
I
material
think that's
beings.
one aspect of mental health too, that our minds will work for us so we can bring the people and the things of the world into our lives so that we can have victory with every challenge that we encounter. Not making any sense. There's nothing holy about being poor or mentally. Now, there's some people we're born into that, and we do not pathologize that. But how is it that we can utilize this aspect of our being that is part of the infinite creative consciousness to bring forth possibility? Yes? And those of us who maybe have found a way out, how can we help others who may be having a challenge? Yes, we still must serve and give back. Am I making any sense? Does this sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know everything, just a little something. Yeah. So, what other aspect you brought in the financial aspect that lets you know your work is working, your relationships? What about your creativity? We all have all these creatives here. Your artistry. How has that blossomed or bloomed?
My creativity has always been kind of as a writer, I don't speak if I don't have anything to say. So I will go weeks, and my manager's probably tight about it. I'll go weeks, months without a song, But for me, I find ways to be creative in other aspects. I mean, before I didn't start writing music until I was about 14. So before then, I would draw. I would come up with ideas. I mean, I wanted to be a cowboy when I was growing up, right? But and then it was cowboy and it was philanthropist. Those were the two things. So for me, my creative aspect and my creative juices have been blossoming. I just created a company called Compass. I took 4 weeks in Bali at the beginning of the year to readjust my system because I had a very, rough year last year. I was running all around the world, going to Fashion Week in Paris, Fashion Week in New York. I just bought a house. I was not fully moved in. My relationships were falling apart. I was just juggling too many things. So I decided to go get my teacher certification training in Bali at the top of the year. It's a year in the industry where not a lot is happening. So I was like, I would take this time for myself. And while I was out there, the first question they asked when we came to the retreat was, why are you here? And for me, I was like, I need to create my own compass so I can always revert back to myself to find myself and find my journey through life. Mm-hmm. So I created this company called Compass, which is based on mental and physical and spiritual wellness. Mm-hmm. I teach yoga, and I have the things that I've mentioned: awareness, breath work, centering, community engagement, physical practice. All of these things, for me, have greatly changed my life. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's a privilege for a black man to take 4 weeks out of his year to go to Bali and not have to worry about anything. Not have to worry about my mortgage, not have to worry about my insurance, not have to worry about children, not have to worry about my family. You know what I'm saying? I'm very privileged to be able to do that. But I want to make this accessible to everyone. I think everyone needs these tools because we live in a world where we measure ourselves either by our bank account or by the plaques and pictures and certificates on the wall.
I want to ask you another question. So,
or the likes on our Instagram pages and Facebook pages.
You mentioned something in terms of decisions. And I think that's what our mind does. Some of us make some bad decisions. Yes, so how is it you know what's the right decision to make? What lets you know that I shouldn't get in a relationship with this person? I shouldn't go here. You know, I shouldn't invest in this stock. How do you know? Well, Talk about trust.
You don't always know.
You don't always.
That's how you learn, and that's the journey of life. If you don't always know, and that's a hard one for me. Also, you don't always know. Mm-hmm. As far as human beings, I think you realize who to be around and who to invest in. Like I said, I come from a very communal background, so I was taught to fully invest in others because they will fully invest in you. But as you journey out into the world, you realize that a lot of people have not been taught that. So the way I've been able to do it is if I feel safe, seen, and supported consistently. And the only way you can feel seen by somebody else is if they truly see themselves. If someone can't see themselves, then they can't see you. They can't really value you and see how wonderful you are. Do you need their validation? You don't need validation, but you need somebody to recognize the God in you like they recognize the God in themselves. Because if they don't, then they aren't aware of how their actions affect you. They aren't aware of how they can show up for you when you need it. And they don't trust themselves enough to ask you to show up for them. So there's not really a relationship available. You know, if you're not able to grow with these people, then you might as well throw it in the fire, let it burn, and then, you know, try something else. But for me, it's if I feel like I can be loved, I can grow in this space, and I can be vulnerable in this space, and we can build together, then this is a relationship that's valuable for me. I've learned to put people in 4 circles. The outer circle is acquaintances. You know, these people that you may meet at a networking event, somebody you may meet at the coffee shop. You know, just hello, how are you? It's nice to meet you. Go about our separate ways. Secondly is associates, which is somebody who you may exchange numbers with. You may have an idea that they may be a part of. You may, you know, it's transactional nature, and that's fine. Relationships can be transactional if, you know, I'm doing you a service, you're doing me a service. It's like the person you meet at the gas station all the time or somebody's associates. Thirdly is community. And community is people who you are building with long term. So when you're building something long term with someone and you're committed to it, you see people in a space where others don't usually see this person. You see how they react to challenges. You see how they react to triumphs. You see how they react to tragedy. And you're able to be there for each other, and that builds community. All community is not your friend, though. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. Everybody in the community is not your friend. That's why the 4th circle is your inner circle. And these are the people who you hold on tight to. These are the people who you can call, like I said, when things hit the fan, and they can call you. And these are the people who you're able to fall apart around. It's fine.
Give
It's
me your
okay.
greatest challenge you had in overcoming, that you had to overcome, to where you finally now are able to. I hear you wholeheartedly trusting yourself and your intuition and your creativity. What is it you really had to overcome? I heard your family of origin there had some
I'm-
things.
I firmly believe that I'm still on that journey, and I have to honor that because
Specifically, what you have
Spec-
to overcome?
specifically,
Fear, doubt.
fear of failure.
Okay.
And it's funny because my father passed in 2018. I was like 26, 27. And, sometimes I think about it now and I'm like, yo, I was so young. Like, this is still, my life, but that kind of pushed me out there. That safety blanket isn't there anymore to call somebody and be like, what should I do about this? How should I handle this? How should I handle that? And it's like, either you're going to learn by the mistakes, which is a way you can do it, and it happens, we're not going to be perfect, or you can learn by surrounding yourself by people who will be there for you as you research and who will help you out. So for me, I'm learning that it's okay to kind of go out at it and be daring. I think I'm as daring as I am cautious, and that's just my personality. Like I play chess a lot. Like I like to plan moves ahead before I make the first move. But a lot of times in this world, how things move, you miss your moment, you miss your time, because it's like kind of like fantasizing about how beautiful your garden is going to be before you plant the first seed. So for me,
I think there's only one question we have to answer in life, and I think you have the answer. Who am I? Who are you?
who am I?
Give me 8 different words for who you
8 different
are.
words: courageous, provider, a lover, a friend, a reflection of God. Those count as 3? There's 3 words.
Okay, yeah, it's
Um,
okay, it's okay.
A student, a teacher, and an adventurer. I think that's it.
Is there a through line there? Wish I could have written them down. Huh? What'd you say, Ebony? You say anything? Ebony's a licensed therapist herself. And so student, teacher, courageous,
Provider,
provider,
lover,
lover,
friend,
reflection of God. I hear you as
reflection.
all of those are sort of God-centered from my perspective.
Uh-huh.
That seemingly you're really getting a connection from some higher source that allows you to be a teacher, that you're respectful of, that you're a student, that you have the courage now because you have that union, provider because you have that connection with abundance. So I'm hearing you're a very spiritual man. Is what I'm. Does that?
Yes, no, that's very true. I'm a
Yeah.
very spiritual person. I was born that way. I was raised that way, and I think my challenge in life has been to bring all of that power and that energy into the material
Yes,
world.
yes.
And for a long time, I was unable to recognize my material worth, and I would
Yes.
shun it. I didn't hang
Yes.
plaques in my house until 4 months ago. Platinum plaques just sitting in the closet, in the
Yeah.
box still. I hadn't even unboxed them.
Yeah.
And it's
I
just
know a
like,
few
I'm
like
like,
that.
that's not for me. What's for me is the service work. But I'm like, those are cool too. Like, hey, bring them out. Yeah, it's fine.
So rather than use that word, which is in the popular vernacular as God, what other words do you have for that in your psyche that perhaps for people that cannot acknowledge
What,
that
the
word?
spiritual, that word?
Yeah, just some
Uh,
words. Like I hear that you're in relationship to something bigger than you. What do you call it?
I would call it union.
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 Okay.
Union. I think a lot of people here in the world will find themselves in places where they aren't connected. You know,
Okay.
so it's union. For me, it's just the way that before I even started paying attention to spirituality and religion, I used to play with rocks. I used to find union with playing with rocks in the dirt. You know, I used to find union in wiggling my feet in sand, and I find union staring out into the ocean. So for me, I find union staring at the planets on the wall in my 5th grade science class. You know, like to me, that always allowed me to find connection with something greater than myself.
Okay.
And I think when we're able to do that, then we find that we have power. You know, we have a source of energy that we're able to tap into in however way to make our lives more fulfilling.
I want to ask, what is the audience hearing so far? What are you feeling from? Thank you. That's very good. What's in the audience? What's out here right now? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you have maybe a question about? Oh, huh?
Feeling seen.
Feeling seen. Talk about that. Look. I'll give her. Yeah, I want to get something here too. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for being here.
Thank
My
you.
name is Andrea Albert, by the way. I just feel very seen. I identify with a lot that you're speaking about, specifically with how you were raised and how you come up and where you are now in your journey. I feel like almost everything you were saying, I was like, damn, that's me for big, excuse my language, verbatim.
French,
you know what I mean?
French. That's French.
Yes. So I feel very seen. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's it.
Good,
Thank you.
good. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And the lovely red.
And we're going to do a meditation just when we close out. Yeah, so you can get some sense of spiritual connection, the union that Olu's talking about. Yes.
I have a question. I want to hear your thoughts. And the subject is about spirituality and money. Because we are spiritual beings living in
Yes.
a human body, but
Yes.
we have to deal with money as musicians. And this is the hardest thing for me. It's not the question of talent. It's a question of dealing with money.
Yes.
So there's this internal fight, and I'd like to ask your thoughts, and if I may share myself with you all, is this internal fight between working hard, getting greedy, and trying to make all the money in the world as a
Yeah.
musician versus maybe I should just accept that I'm not going to be rich
Uh-huh.
and just be peaceful with it because I chose my profession as a musician. But then I asked myself, damn, am I going to lie in my deathbed and regret that I didn't try harder to be that 1% of musician who makes millions?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you deal with this internal fight?
Well, I've almost lost my house at one point. I had periods of where I couldn't find the other penny to rub with the one I had. And I got disgusted with myself. I allowed myself to be disgusted. And my mother, bless her soul, you could share too, gave me a lesson. She said, a grown man who can't take care of himself is disgusting. And I didn't fight my mother, I just felt that. And that disgust, the feelings propel us. This is not, that's why I say with the course that everybody's taking with me, we can have insight and intelligence and make decisions, but this is what moves you. So you got to get into your heart if you're really, but yet I don't think we have to be super rich, but you want your needs taken care of at least. I don't think we all have to be super rich, comfortable, yeah? But you have to get into the value. I think you got to get the feelings there, and you got to value you. I mean, I had no idea. I was prepared to be poor. I had no idea that becoming a therapist was going to get me notoriety. Am I making any sense? I just sat with my heart and said, I don't want to choreograph and dance anymore. So I think value, you got to value you, do what you do, be who you are. Money will come. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah, value. I think we all.
Money is value.
Money is value, but I think we all should take some time to really consider what wealth is to us. What is wealth? What is richness? What is value to you? I think you should take some time to figure that out, because we all know we need money to eat and experience things in life. But for me, I think one of the wealthiest things that I did was take some of my savings and spend that money on me to go to Bali to readjust my system. You know, like that set me apart thousands and millions of dollars from other people that I knew, just like spiritually. You know, it set me up for the opportunity to be in spaces like this, because I was like, this is the most valuable thing right now is myself. And I poured into myself in that way. I also think with the industry, because we talking numbers now, you know, I mean, they've literally devalued what sound is, what music is, with streams and things, right? So I think we as creatives have to be creative in finding ways to bring value to our communities. If the value that we brought to our communities was only in sound, then you will be a victim of what happens when they devalue sound. But if you find other ways to bring value to your communities from who you are, from your lifestyle that brings the sound out of you, then I think you're finding other avenues to these rivers of wealth, these rivers of richness that you can pull from.
I think a key word to life is to listen. I make a living on listening. I hear what others say. I hear what others don't say. I hear to what I'm feeling. I hear to what the universe is telling me to do. So just listen. Just listen. It's in the whisper. Your guidance is in the whisper. Am I making any sense? I can't tell you what's right for you, but you know if you just says turn right. Okay, I'm going to the right. You know. Oh, I want to become a therapist. I'm going to get a school. What? I want to do yoga in the morning. What? Little did I know yoga was going to be so big. I started doing it in 1974. I was a vegetarian in 1974 when they calling you crazy. Honey, you don't want no chicken? No, ma'am. You want some fish? No, ma'am. Boy, you going to be poorly. What you going to eat? You know. So I listened. Now they're catching up with me. Am I making any sense? You got to listen to you and trust it. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. And then, sir, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I really resonated with the being able to filter the healthy relationships that will lift us rather than weigh us down. One question I have is, sometimes our compass can be derailed or demagnetized, if that's the right word. Sometimes people who claim or who intend to help us may have ulterior motives that
true.
may not align with our inner path or our spiritual goals and our real true selves. How do we gracefully filter out these people, or without maybe it's because I'm an empath, without like
hurting their feelings? Are you
yes,
concerned?
it's like a very basic question, but it's like something I think that we need to, be able to do in order to succeed. So I know that sometimes our careers and not even just our careers, but our life spiritual direction can be polluted or derailed, as I had said, because we're following the guidance. And I'm like, especially if we didn't have that when we started, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Hope the question makes sense.
Well, I'll let Olu answer, but my relationship is nobody takes care of me but that infinite creative consciousness. So if it goes against my intuition and my heart, they pee and poop too, don't they?
Sorry?
Okay. They pee and poop too. Everybody pees and poops, so
Yeah, we all
nobody's
shit, need,
getting
and
out of
die.
this stuff alive.
No.
Nobody has any power really over you. Yeah? And I just think about, the first time I heard it on the airline. You know what I'm getting at when they said, put your mask on first.
Yeah.
That's the Aquarian age. Put your mask on. What's best for you? If they're not telling you something right, you don't have to say anything, huh?
No.
Just go to where you belong and people see you. And am I making any sense to you?
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I noticed that if I pardon my language, get rid of all the bullshit and just like go with people that my intuition and my gut.
That's right.
That's when my compass comes back,
Yeah.
and I start to like go, oh, this works for me. This is great.
Yes.
But then when I go back to these other people who, I think what I lack is the ability or the skills to smile and nod and accept without following.
Yes.
And that's something that is a life lesson that I'm currently working on, and I want to know how to improve that.
If you think about it, geniuses or pace setters, they always are usually by themselves.
Yeah.
And they start movements and concepts, and then think of Jane Fonda. She started aerobics years ago. Not everybody is doing some rendition of it, but that was very revolutionary at the time, right? The first yoga teachers that came. Hey, look at it now. It's almost a fad now, But the real, initially it was like those who were practicing it were like, what are you doing? Yeah. So you got to trust yourself. Yeah. Any more questions for Olu? Yes, sir. Two more questions. One, you had a question. I said. Yeah.
Her first?
Go ahead, Brandon. And then the nice lady there.
Copy.
Yeah.
Thank you. This question is for Olu. You were speaking about increasing the accessibility of wellness, mental health, for our community. And Siri, you're talking about you've been meditating for 50 years, doing yoga for 50 years. What Jane Fonda did was revolutionary. Olu, like, what are you seeing, in the space at the intersection of music and mental health? You just started your company. I think there's a lot of brothers like you and me and Ian who are providing services, for our community. Within culture, we have Andre 3000 that just dropped his ambient project. I think we're seeing a lot of convergences between spirituality, mindfulness, and specifically with Black and Brown BIPOC communities. So interested to see sort of like what's your POV landscape of this intersection and more of your why for jumping in and serving this community.
My point of view is, I think the same thing I said to the sister is, we as artists have to understand the wellspring of energy and value that we bring, right? I'm gonna let this go by. Because when we think that our value is only through sound or through music, then we limit not only ourselves from the union of creativity, but we limit our fan base or our community, as I like to call them, from the union of creativity. And we have to take our music and our other gifts and bring them into another intuitive space to where we're able to provide value to our fan base and to our communities. So I think most artists we've reached that point to where we're like, we can't just sit back and put an album out, Even if you do sit back and put an album out and it's a great album, you have to promote this album. So nobody wants to see you just do TikToks all day. Like, give value to your fan base. How are you promoting this album, being true to who you are, and also pouring into these people? And if you do that, then they will pour back into you financially and spiritually as well. So I think that is the intersection that a lot of people are facing and coming to context with. Is like, okay, this is working a little bit, but like, how can I bring more value to these people and in turn receive as well?
Great. So we have the lady there. Then I guess we got to close out.
She has a hand here, yeah. In the back row as well. Yeah, one more, yeah.
Hey guys, this will be quick, so it's up to them if we can get another one. But I just wanted to say, I built my own inner compass over having so many of the similar situations of being in the music industry for 15 years, searching for validation inside of platinum records and things like that. And we all know that ego is rampant in the entertainment and the music industry, right? And that's not just always, oh, I think I'm better than you, or I'm the boss in here, and things like that. It's validation, it's proving people wrong, it's all of this stuff. And I found peace in my purpose outside of looking for those things and making impact and bringing joy and things like that. And my question for you guys is how you identify your purpose versus your ego.
That's pretty easy for me. My purpose is serving. So I serve. I serve through being on stage. I serve through interactions like these. I serve through teaching my yoga classes. I serve through creating companies to provide access to other people. If I don't feel like I'm serving, then I'm moving out of my ego. So that's kind of a simple thing for me.
I think that's a very great question. You have to distinguish between your spirit, the voice of your spirit, and the voice of your ego. The ego is the one that wants to limit you, maybe fear-based. The spirit is your purpose. Yeah. So it takes practice to really heighten that voice so that it is the voice of guidance rather than the voice of limitation. Does that make sense to you? Yeah.
For sure.
We had one last question in the back row.
Thank you. My question was about forced proximity. Say, for example, you're seen as a buffer. Like, people use you to soften the blow on things, or they use you to make a situation more fun or easier. And a lot of times when I look up things like this, they always say you have to walk away or you just have to ignore them. But what do you do in a professional setting or a creative setting where you have to be working with this person?
For me, it's kind of those 4 boundaries that I mentioned. Some moving people out of that inner circle into community, or out of community into associates, and with associates, it's a very transactional thing. So you only open yourself up so much for this transaction to happen, and after the transaction is done, then you have to continue to create your boundary. I was listening to a Jay Shetty's podcast, and it was, boundaries are things that we enforce upon ourselves. Barriers are things that we erect to protect ourselves from other people. So your boundary may be not communicating with them when you know that they are in this level or in this space, or when they're moving in this energy. And that's something that you have to hold yourself to. Or not answering the phone, you know what I'm saying, when you don't want to communicate, okay, I'm off of work now. So these are the things that you kind of have to hold firm to. And it's difficult at times. It's not an easy thing. I understand, especially with what she was saying as well, as far as cutting people off when you have that giving nature. It's very difficult, but it's necessary. I mean, it's necessary, or you will continuously see yourself be used and burned.
I know we got to close out. I've been working on this thing, what it means to be mentally healthy, for a while. I'm just going to read 5 of these 23 things I've written, and just for you to cogitate. I'm not saying they're foolproof. I'm actually testing them out on you. Our mind should be able to ascertain our strengths and weaknesses as we augment our life with people and things of the world to help bring victory to every challenge. Our mind should always process ourselves as good, as we do the best we can, never diminishing or lessening our worth by comparing ourselves to others. Our mind should serve and guide us to a life of peace, prosperity, and even posterity. Our mind should be able to adapt to unsettling, stressful situations, be they tragic or mere surprising, unwanted moments in time and space. As we fail to fall into long, the term long has to be further defined, periods of despair, confusion, never relenting to destructive, harmful behaviors to self or others, verbally or physically. Our mind should be able to create harmonious relationships. Well, I think that's, yeah. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes. Can we have another round of applause for Olu and Dr. Siri? That was such an amazing conversation. We want to close by just having a few thank yous. Thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this amazing event. We want to thank Lululemon for fitting our panelists and our yoga instructor, Press Juicery for their donations, and all of the group facilitators for everything they've done today. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you guys all having a wonderful evening.
Thank you.